So we're here today with Miko Matsumura, a crypto visionary who's an LP at Pantera Capital and has several of his own ventures, including Evercoin, a decentralized exchange. Miko, tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on the space and what you're working on in the space.
Yeah, so from the perspective of Evercoin Exchange, we actually are thinking a lot about the post-ICO environment. So there's many tips about the post-ICO environment, but I think listing on an exchange becomes extremely important.
Yeah. Tell us more about the activity that you see with in and around ICOs, especially as relates to your exchange.
Yeah, so the thing that's fascinating about what's happening in ICO is people look at the ICO almost like a cliff, like they're like, oh, I can't wait to be done with my ICO and we'll be rich, right? Very bad mindset because they're not actually thinking about what happens later. The thing that's magic about the liquidity of tokens is that everything you raise could basically go to zero if your token's worth zero, right? So the thing that's fascinating about what's happening, obviously you may have converted your ether out or you may have converted into fiat, but at that point you basically kind of like robbed everyone. So I guess my point is that if you're not reasoning about post-ICO, you're actually not a very good investment.
Are there any other trends in the space that you want to talk about? I know you were just on a panel. Tell us more about the things that you've heard at this conference.
So one of the things that I think is missing from the equation is not just reasoning about post-ICO, including use of proceeds and governance, but the other thing I see missing is mistaken understanding of the ICO phenomenon itself. So I think the emphasis is going to shift towards a traditional book building and a more traditional whale-powered ICO, because what we're seeing right now in the industry is tail fatigue, which is we're seeing the ether throwing party of the ICO is slowing down because a lot of those investments are going to zero. And we're seeing them not get listed on exchanges, and we're seeing very poor liquidity for a lot of token investments. We're not sustainable at 30 ICOs a day, and I heard it's going up to like 60.
Wow. With 30 to 60 ICOs per day, what do you see happening? What are the trends around that? What will happen to the space?
Well, so there's either going to be a bubble collapse, so there's going to be some kind of massive correction, right? Or an alternative is industry self-regulation. So I have a ICO Governance Foundation, a nonprofit, ICOgovernance.org, and it basically is promoting self-disclosure. And the idea is that ICOs will actually disclose what it is they're doing with the tokens and with the money and who's getting paid by what, in order to kind of give more transparency to investors. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a flight to quality. So what's going to happen is that higher quality ICOs with better governance and better principles will actually get more of this whale power capital than a lot of these crazy people who are just trying to soak up ether in this kind of wild ether throwing party, which we're in now. And I think that party is going to end soon. And I think hopefully it will end naturally, which is that the people who are throwing ether randomly are going to lose money, and they'll probably just naturally throw less ether, right? And so I feel like that's the best outcome we can hope for, is that the tail gets very fatigued, and people who are just randomly throwing ether will just stop doing that on their own, and that quality will come back into the market.
Wow. Thanks, Miko. I really respect the quality that you bring to the cryptocurrency industry. Miko's one of the crypto luminaries that I talk to most in this space, so thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
Terrific. Thank you.